Hello, my name is Lisa Salber, Literacy Coordinator for Little Falls Community Schools, and we have our last Distance Learning Numbers Night activity, which is really going to give you some fun ideas on how to play math games at home. Throughout the last week, we've watched videos thanking our community for their generous gifts and support for our schools and their students and the families. We had a video about Title I school-wide and the Parent Advisory Committee. We had another video talking about ways to support math at home, and this video is really going to focus on math game ideas. So one of the ways to support math at home is by playing math games, but this video is going to go in depth a little bit more into that and give you some examples and ideas and things you can use. Remember, we have some amazing prizes, so watch the video, then like the post, comment under the post to answer the question, and share the post to be entered to win one of those great prizes. Our family engagement nights have 3 goals. Really, first, those relationships and partnerships with families. This video is going to focus on ways to support students at home, and then we also have that Parent Advisory Committee that we hope to really shape Title I to the best that it can be. For today's video, really all you'll need for these games that we'll discuss are a deck of cards and dice. Our hope was during Numbers Night to send these home with students when they came, but unfortunately we were unable to do that. So if you go to the Dollar Tree or Walmart, they have these there and they're fairly inexpensive. So first we're going to focus on using the deck of cards. A deck of cards has endless possibilities when it comes to math games and building math minds. And really, it can be used from as young as a preschooler or pre-preschooler all the way to 98 or beyond, because everyone can love card games and utilize card games to help them build their math skills and their math thinking, even their logical thinking. Sometimes card games can really benefit in that way as well. So for example, counting and identifying numbers. If you have a child who is 3 or 4 or maybe even 2 and they're moving along pretty fast, counting the symbols on a 3 of hearts card will allow them to count one-to-one correspondence and see, yep, there's 1, 2, 3 hearts, that number is 3. And so having a parent there and kind of helping them along so that they don't count the hearts that are up in the corners. But that can be a great way to associate that one-to-one correspondence and number identification. Matching games, matching 4s and 4s and seeing those numbers and identifying the amount that goes with 4 is a great way to putting them in order, really working on that number sequence. We'll talk about the game Garbage. That's a great way to learn that number sequence as well. And it has some of that logical thinking in there too, and problem solving. War is another game that works on number sequence, and it has the student or the child or whoever's playing the game going higher or lower and knowing if a value of a number is higher or lower. You can play addition and subtraction games with cards. You can play games where they have to count at the end and count up the points. So that would be another great way to continue challenging them with their math skills. I will also share the game Speed with you, which is another fun way to work on number sequence. And multiplication, division, fast facts, cribbage is a great one. And there's many more games that can be used with a deck of cards and really can help build those math minds in students. So Garbage would be set up something like this. You deal out 10 cards and they order it 5 and 5. In elementary school, primarily kindergarten, first grade, we talk a lot about 10 frames, and this is actually what a 10 frame would look like. So you would have 5 on the top and 5 on the bottom. So if you only have 3 on the bottom, so 5 and 3 makes 8. That would be a great conversation to have about the 10 frames, and if you take away 2 cards, how many would you have left? And that is a great way to look at Garbage, but the game Garbage itself is really working on the number sequence. So right now we're going to be going 1 through 10. So an ace would go here, a 2 would go here, a 3, 4, 5, and so on all the way up to 10. The first person will draw a card. If you draw 4, you're going to put it in the 4's place. This again is helping with that 10 frame because they're going to need to know if I had 4 dots up to here, that would be 4. So they'll put it in the 4's place. They'll take the card that was in the 4's place and look at it. It was a 10, so they're going to put that in the 10's place. Then they're going to look at that card and see that it was a 3, put that in the 3's place, pick up the card that was in the 3's place and see that it's another 3. Well, they already have a 3 there, so they're going to discard that one. And then you would keep going. When it gets back to their turn, they'll draw again and try and find cards that fit in those spots. Wild cards would be kings and jokers. Kings and jokers can go anywhere. If I put a king in my ace spot, and then I later on draw an ace or find an ace as I'm flipping up cards, I can replace that king and put that king somewhere else. Same for the joker. Unfortunately, jacks and queens are considered garbage. So when you get to a jack or a queen, you would have to discard that, and that's the end of your turn. Great game to build sequence knowledge with numbers, and again to help reinforce that 10 frame idea, which will help when coming up with partners of 10 in the future. Other things to consider: the winner would receive one less card the next round. So whoever went out or filled out their 10 frame first is the winner, and then the next round they would get only 9 cards where everyone else got 10. So then they would try and order 1 through 9. And so on and so forth. So if they won the next round again, then they would only get 8 cards at number 1 through 8. So then 9 and 10 would become garbage for that round for them too. Fun game, great way to build math concepts. War is a game that maybe you're familiar with. It's really trying to identify which card is higher. So again, great way to practice the value of numbers with students. So if there's 2 people playing, you deal out the whole deck to those 2 people back and forth, and then they flip over 1 card at a time. The winner of that flip would get those cards back. So if one person lays a 5 and one person lays a 9, the person who laid the 9 gets both cards. If they both lay a 10 the next round, then they would need to put 2 cards facing down next to the 10 and flip up the 3rd card that they put down. That 3rd card, the highest one, would get all of those cards. So the first 2 that tied, plus the 2 flipped upside down or face down, and then the 1 up. So a fun game to really work on values and identifying which one is worth more. Speed is another one that really continues to work on that sequencing piece. So you would have 4 cards in each of these piles and 2 flipped up in the middle. To start, you can have them flip down, and then when you say start, you can flip them over. And then the remainder of the deck would be spread out or separated between 2 people. Then you're going to pick up 4 from your hand, or the deck that was dealt to you. You're going to pick up 4 at a time and lay them down in order. So you would have to lay a black jack or a black king on top of the red queen, or a red 4 or a red 2 on top of the black 3. So it's just a way, again, to really continue to work the brain, but then also working on that sequencing of numbers. Now, when using the dice has many different options as well. You might be familiar with games like Farkle and Yahtzee, or shaking to a certain number. Maybe you want to shake the dice to get to 31, or shake the dice to get to 40 and see how many shakes it would take. Those would be all great ways to gamify using dice for students. Another powerful piece for younger students is really subitizing. So subitizing is seeing the dots on the die and being able to say how many that is. So if I roll a die and it gives me 2 dots, I can say 2 right away without having to count each dot. So subitizing is really powerful for younger students. As they get really good at that, then practicing writing the numbers that they see, adding 2 die together, maybe subitizing 2 dice together, subtracting, taking away, multiplication, and dividing. So maybe you have a number written on a board, you roll the dice, and they have to divide by that number. So it's ultimately endless with dice too, but a great option for you to continue gamifying those things, because as you're gamifying it, it becomes much more fun for them and for you at home. Thank you for all you're doing to help your students reach new heights. We hope you have a wonderful summer, and we look forward to these partnerships continuing to grow in the future. If you have any questions, please let me know.